father. Sudhakar Reddy is an award-winning journalist. He has won national and international laurels for his work. His book gives insights into what all has gone wrong with the fragile ecosystem spread over Chittoor, Nellore, Prakasham, Kadapa and Kurnool districts of Andhra Pradesh. BloodSanders thrived in this habitat till a few decades ago. Now it is facing the threat of extinction. Like all good things in this world, BloodSanders also fell prey to the greed of man. Sudhakar explains as how to the high and mighty fuel this project of destruction. The destruction not only of the BloodSanders species, but the ecosystem as a whole. This species is known for preventing forest fires from spreading in vulnerable forests of Sheshatala Hills. Consequences of this ecological destruction there are for us to see it's a global phenomenon. The need of the hour is to address these issues locally. According to an estimate presented by the author, in the last 2 decades, nearly 60 lakh BloodSanders trees were cut. Smuggling from the forest area spread over 5,30,097 hectares resulted in the arrest of 2,000 persons from the neighboring state alone. Many have lost lives. Lawbreakers as well as enforcing of the law suffered fatalities. The author rightly named the book BloodSanders, as smuggling of this high valuable timber has led to unprecedented bloodshed. It is second only to sandalwood smuggling perhaps. As the author mentions, the Andhra Pradesh Forest Act was amended in 2016 to deal sternly with the smuggling of BloodSanders. However, what is lacking is the necessary will and enforce these laws. This is where the media needs to play its role. The collective failures of individuals and institutions entrusted with the role of protectors need to be highlighted by the media. People need to be made aware of deficiencies in the process. This job can only be done by the media. As a person whose first job was that of a journalist, I am taking the liberty to share a few thoughts on present day media. The concept of investigative journalism is unfortunately vanishing from the media canvas. It is true, at least in the Indian context. When we are growing up, we eagerly look forward to newspapers exposing big scandals. The newspapers never disappointed us those days. In the past, we have witnessed newspaper reports on scandals and misconduct, creating waves leading to serious consequences. Barring one or two, I don't recall any story of such magnitude. Everything in our garden appears to be rosy. I leave it to you to arrive at your own conclusions. I am reminded what Gandhiji said about newspapers. I quote, "The newspaper should be read for the study of facts. They should not be allowed to kill the habit of independent thinking." Unquote. I hope the media introspects and tests itself against these words of Mahatma. Coming back to the book that we released today, Sudhakar Reddy made some very good suggestions for protection and conservation of BloodSanders and the Sheshatala forest ecosystem. It includes creating a conducive atmosphere for the cultivation, harvest and trade of BloodSanders. I have a suggestion to make. Locals, if involved in conservation efforts, will make a huge difference. Tiger preserves and wildlife sanctuaries have benefited from engaging tribals who are forest dwellers as forest guards. With this approach, prospective poachers of wildlife were turned into wildlife protectors as they found dependable livelihood. The authorities here can try this method in Seshachalam by way of employing tribals and other forest dwellers as forest guards. Possibly, the smugglers may then find it difficult to attract them for the job of tree felling. Let me not come between you and the panel of experienced, senior, knowledgeable experts who are going to enlighten the gathering about the wide gamut of issues involved. I wish Sudhakar Reddy all the very best in his future endeavors. Keep you to a work, good work. I thank Sudhakar Reddy and the organizers for giving me this opportunity to take part in this event. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice, sir. Your very inspiring words, and I realize that you are absolutely the right person to have been able to release this book and also give us a message in the media. It's very inspiring to hear the Chief Justice speak about what he thinks the role of the media needs to be in these times. And the second important aspect, of course, you spoke about the BloodSanders and gave your own suggestions. I'm sure coming from the Chief Justice, these are words that certainly hold a lot of weight for all of us, and hopefully they will be taken forward as well. Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words, inspiring words, and also for joining us and launching this book of my friend SriSudhakarReddyUdumula. This is, of course, the first session that we spoke about where the Chief Justice was unveiled and physically released the book as well. We now move to the second session where the panel discussion will happen. Sudhakar, you would like to?
I'm taking leave. Sudhakar Reddy?
Sir, I'm here, sir.
Please continue. I will watch silently for 15 minutes and I will take leave thereafter. You can go ahead with your program.
Thank you very much, sir. Honorable Chief Justice Garu. Meeku మాతృభాష మీద జన్మభూమి మీద ఉన్న మమకారం వెలకట్టలేనిది. ఈ చెట్టు పుట్ట మట్టి ఈ నేల మీద మీకున్న గొప్ప గొప్ప ఆత్మీయత అనుబంధాలు మన ప్రాంతంలోనే చాలా గొప్పగా చెప్పుకుంటారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్ సార్. మీరు టైం తీసుకొని you took time and to unveil my book. Thank you very much, sir. It will go a great way in my career and as well as for the conservation of the species. Sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Should we slightly reassemble so that we can kind of have a closer? Is that help? Does it help? Yeah. I'll request if the panelists can be mic'd up, and in the meanwhile, if I could take the time to introduce. I'll start with M.V. Krishna Rao Garu, whose birthday is in fact the 2nd of October, the father of the nation. And yeah, there's one more connection to that, I thought, because in my mother tongue, Appa is called the father. The father is called Appa. And he played, in a sense, the role of Appa for ABPA, which is Appa again, which is the AB Police Academy. And he, in fact, was the director at that time, joined there and promoted as Inspector General and worked as the first director. And we are told the kind of work that he did at that time is one of the reasons why we have a world-class training institution there. We, of course, knew him most popularly as the Hyderabad Police Commissioner, very dynamic and dashing even those days, and continues to be so, equally so, I must say. And he has been Director General of Prisons as well. And one of the things that we always speak about, such a novel, radical step about video conferencing between courts and jails, that's something that Sir introduced as an innovation for the first time, and subsequently the amendment was adopted by the Parliament of India and made applicable to the entire country via an amendment to the Criminal Procedure Code. He has been DG of Fire Services as well, and helped at that time in enforcing the National Building Code and AP Fire Services. Act. He has also been Vice Chairman and Managing Director of APSRTC, which at that time was perhaps the world's largest bus corporation, and very often we speak about bleeding corporations, and Mr. Rao in fact is someone who managed to turn it around from loss to profits. He's worked as Additional Director General of CRPF and also has been the Chief of the Director General of the Sashastra Seema Bal. That's something that has an army of some 93,000 armed force that we have at the borders with Indo-Nepal border and the Indo-Bhutan border. And subsequently, he has been mentoring, teaching, lecturing at so many different other institutions that you do come across. I mean, anyone in the service would know what Mr. Krishna Rao means, in fact. The next panelist that I'm going to introduce is Vanangi Raghuvirji, who is a 1984 batch Indian Forest Service officer. He had masters in chemistry, PG diploma in wildlife management and human resource management. He is also trained as Chief Information Officer from IIM Ahmedabad. He retired, of course, as Principal Chief Conservator of Forests and also as VCMD for the Telangana's Forest Development Corporation. And he successfully steered the Jungle Bachao, Jungle Badao campaign and effective training of field officers against such an important arm of protecting the forest. And something that the phrase that he used, in fact, individual social responsibility, that's something that I picked up and used in a tweet this morning as well, because it's such an impressive term, individual social responsibility, and he's been ardently advocating it. We talk about corporate social responsibility, he's talking about the individual social responsibility, and that's a very, very impressive concept that all of us need to internalize so that our society gets better, I think. And he has also, in fact, aided 2 World Bank projects in ICDS and forestry. And one of the work that deserves mention is, of course, his work on the Medaram Jatra, which we all talk hugely about, and to make it more eco-friendly, to be able to study something like that and tell us what we need to do to make it something that we celebrate, but at the same time it doesn't cause any harm to our environment. That's the kind of work that he has done in that field. And Professor Madhabhushanam Sridhar Acharyalu Garu, who all of us know more famously as Madhabhushi Sridhar Garu, he completely overawes me because he's written some 47 books, can you beat it? And some 1,000 research articles, I believe. Oh my God, I mean, and he has done popular shows on TV as well, which are kind of, talk-in shows where he answers. And he's continuously writing newspaper articles as well, because you always see his bylines here on all sorts of subjects, socio-economic, politics, everything he writes on with a lot of authority. Of course, he has been registrar at NALSA, he has been professor of law, Bennett University, and of course now he's is now heading Mahindra, is where he is heading as Dean of Law, heading that university. So I consider it an honor that all of you are on this panel, and my job of a journalist is very good because we can afford to ask the questions and get the panelists to answer. So this time I'm still audible? Yeah. With this mic? Yeah, now we are live. Okay. Okay, I'm going to first ask you the one question which goes to all 3 of you actually. Is there political will actually to stop BloodSanders smuggling? And I'll give you only 2 minutes each to answer this. Go, Mr. Rao.
I don't think there is. I don't think there is. In most of the situations, the law is there, confined to the paper. The political will definitely is not there. If it were really there, they could have prevented it long ago. It's not there for various reasons. It's not a priority item. It doesn't get them any extra votes. And biodiversity, baad mein dekha jayega. After me, the deluge. Why should I bother about my children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren? Let the world go to dogs. I am worried about, will I be in power 5 years later? So it's a very...
I'm glad that you're not bringing in the political nexus as in the money per se, but you're talking about prioritization, which is also very, very important. So as somebody who has worked in this, you can give us the insider view of what you have felt has stopped it. Is it really lack of prioritization of stopping the smuggling itself? Because obviously it's a national treasure that all of us should be talking about and should be so proud about.
Basically, if you are looking at it, it's a democratic country, and when you talk about political will, obviously it translates into people will. So before we ask whether political will is there or not, should we not ask whether people are willing to protect the Red Sanders, the pride of Andhra Pradesh or not? If so, what are they doing about it? Are they voicing their concerns substantially enough? Because politicians are always worried about votes. So if something can get them votes, definitely they will put it on top of their agenda. So currently in the public diaspora, probably it is not really getting probably flagged so much as an area of concern. But if you see political will in form of what they are supposed to do, like making a policy or making a law, excellent. I think we have one of the best laws and best policies for protecting. Only thing is it has to be implemented in true letter and spirit, and that's where the mechanism to implement. So you can't really tie hands and feet of the foresters and throw them in the forest and say you go and protect. You have to strengthen them. I think that's where the political will is lacking. That's where they're not really, giving them adequate support to deliver. I think these are my two thoughts.
When the law came and people started getting arrested in huge numbers, but what we saw was the lowest levels. Those are the people who are getting convicted. They are the replaceable part of the wheel. I'm saying those are the laborers, those are the people who are being brought in. Where is the problem then? Is it because we don't get the kingpins? And is the law not good enough to do that, as somebody who is commenting on political issues, social issues, economic issues?
Taking the point from what is stated by Justice Ramana Garu and Krishna Rao Garu and Raghuveer Garu, everybody knows what is happening in Sheshachalam Park.